following is a Podbeard production.
EST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, opinions, and more. This is The Hodder Show.
What is up, everybody? We're rolling out of you here today on episode 253 of The Hodder Show. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Thanks so very much for tuning in to that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I have a stellar episode for you here today, as I try to every single week here on The Hodder Show. I am super hyped about this episode because I get to sit down with a man that I have a lot of respect and admiration for, both personally and professionally, Mr. Jeramy Donais, better known as HooGie On The Road. He is a veteran guitar and bass technician. He's been in the industry for, I think it's about 20 years, maybe a little over that even, and he is currently actually Eric Bass of Shinedown's tech, so he does a lot of things for Eric, looking after his bass and his guitars and his keyboards, and basically is his co-pilot. And this was really cool as someone who, spent, of course, as some of you guys may know, spent some time working in a music store and doing a little bit of teching. This was really cool for me, and we cover a ton of ground as far as how he got started in the industry itself, some fun stories of some bands that he used to work with, and specifically some players that he used to work with, as well as kind of some horror stories that I don't think you've ever heard anywhere else about one in particular that is really fun. If you're a fan of April Wine, stay tuned because it's a really kind of a fun, lighthearted story. We also talked about what kind of he does on a daily basis, what his day consists of. He kind of runs us through that. We talked a little bit about, of course, family and how it is on the road when you have family at home, of course, a little bit about what he does when he's at home. And then, of course, we do start off with some chat about the current COVID-19 pandemic and kind of how that's affecting him and the industry. It's a really fun chat. I hope that you guys enjoy it. I know I did. I had so much fun talking with him. It was just such a great time. So I really hope that you guys enjoy it. Of course, before we go any further, I need to give a humongous shout out to my friend, Mr. Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts for, number one, all of his help on everything that he does on the show. If you guys need logos or t-shirts, banners, you need stuff for social media, business cards, mailers, t-shirts, anything at all like that, even custom art, or you have an old photo you need restored, hit my guy up, Jason Reese, Jaybird Digital Arts. He actually was a humongous help because with the video version of this podcast, I had some issues with the video, and he was able to not only help me out with a nice overlay that you guys are going to see, but also he was able to actually take it and basically make it work because it was a little messy when the recording finally rendered. And I wanted to make sure I had video for this. So Jaybird Digital Arts is the man. If you need any kind of graphic design stuff or even a music video or lyric video or something like that, hit my guy up, JaybirDigitalArts.com, as well as check him out on social media at Jaybird Digital Arts. Best in the business. And always remember, folks, that his business is not successful until your business looks good. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into my chat with Jeramy Donais, better known as HooGie. Let's get into it. All right, guys, I am super excited to welcome onto the show today. He is the current tech for Shinedown, as well as former tech for Lamb of God, Stained, Breaking Benjamin, Gob, Finger 11, Fear of a Dead Man, Sum 41, Sam Roberts Band, Treble Charger, among a few other bands. He is also the artist relations manager for SIT Strings and is the founder of WB Gear. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so thrilled to welcome onto the show today, Jeramy Donais, better known as HooGie. HooGie, how are you, man?
Man, thank you very much. I got to say, that's the first time anybody's ever called me a founder of something. That's amazing.
Oh, man. Well, it's so great to talk. We're just, we have a ton of ground to cover, obviously, with everything going on in the world right now. We're both sitting in our houses and we're just kind of twiddling our thumbs, looking for different things to do and different outlets. And, it's a crazy time.
I've definitely had no shortage of things to do. I have 4 children.
Oh, yes.
So they are up at 7:30 and they're ready to party until they pass out. So
what time do they usually go out at?
Man, these days, because the sun goes down later, and in their mind, it's not bedtime till the sun's down, right? So, sometimes it's like 10 o'clock and you're like, Jesus, you guys don't stop. So
That's crazy. I mean, there's times when we've spoken about, like let's do the show around like 9 o'clock, whatever, in the last little while, and it's like, yeah, there's no way they're still up and running, and you've said there's times they'll be up till like 11, and it's just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. Okay, no more ice cream tomorrow. Just keeping you off the sugar.
No sugar, no ice cream. Just let's just cut it. That's awesome, man. Well, obviously, with everything going on right now, we've spoken a little bit about the fact that you're kind of starting to go into some different avenues. Aside from, obviously, right now there's no touring happening, so your main line of work with the teching and the backstage work obviously isn't happening at the moment. And yes, of course, working with SIT Strings and WB Gear, and that is a great kind of a side gig, I guess, technically for you. But what else have you been doing to kind of start looking at different avenues of things that you can do?
Man, I'm just trying to get creative in different ways and figure out different ways to navigate myself through this new world, as they some people call it. A bulk of my revenue comes from touring, and I have a large family. I have 4 kids and a better half. So I find myself trying to figure out other ways to supplement that until this industry starts up again. The crazy thing is, it's like, in past, if something happened with a band, you just go to the next, band and start with them. But unfortunately, I'm in a whole industry that has been, collapsed, shut down for the last 90 plus days. So, there's no next band to go to. So, not knowing the end date, that's the interesting part,
Yeah, that's a scary thing. And I mean, like, obviously, like, we won't dwell too much on this because it's been talked about to death with so many people.
Yeah.
But like, for someone like yourself, I mean, there really is no way of knowing for sure, okay, as of this date, everything's going to go back to normal. We'll get back on the road. Yes, you can say, okay, next year, maybe early next year, we're going to try a tour. But I mean, the unfortunate reality is, who's to know how many people are going to come out? Is the show's going to be successful?
Is it even going to happen?
Exactly. There's so much unknown. And obviously, for people who are listening who aren't in depth, let's say, with the music industry, obviously there's a lot of industries that are suffering right now, but with the entertainment industry and the music industry, it's a really scary time for sure.
Yeah. The industry that's, used to bringing, people around and, forget about their lives and, bring them joy for an evening. And that's the industry that's completely shut down right now. It's unfortunate.
And people are looking for different ways that they can be entertained and take their minds off of things that are going on in the world. And that's led me to doing more Instagram lives. Mm-hmm. I've been doing them with Prestige Guitars has had me doing with Todd Kearns. I got one with Devin Townsend that aired last week. I got a couple other coming up with them. SIT Strings has had me doing with Zach and Eric from Shinedown. We've also had Wayne from Hatebreed, Aaron Patrick from All That Remains, and the legend, Mr. Dave Elfson. So it's been pretty cool getting to bring these people in that I've known for years and sit down and chat with them like this. This is something that I've never really ventured out, because mainly not because I didn't want to, just because my on the road I've got very little time. I'm doing 5 shows a week, and every day is different. And then you got 2 days off, and you're getting caught up on other, the side job, the WB Gear stuff. It's, time becomes limited. For sure. And it's like, hey, do I have time to sit down and do even a 20-minute conversation with someone? It's like, I couldn't imagine.
We've tried connecting, for a week and a half, but, mostly that's because my roommates, they're always running around the place and
very disrespectful roommates. Come on, you're in your closet trying to have a conversation. And
in my broom closet here, trying to have a conversation. They give me a little area, and they don't even let me do this. They don't even pay rent here.
Yeah, I only have 2 roommates like that, but they're little and furry, so I can't really say anything.
We got 3 of those too.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
you got a full house over there happening for
full
sure.
House of freeloaders.
Full house of freeloaders. Oh, geez, yeah, you've got people who are, I believe you have a shirt that's says "I have enough friends." People wanting to get into shows, freeing that. And it's kind of like a really weird dynamic where it's like you're dealing with this at home, obviously, tongue-in-cheek lightheartedness, obviously, but then also you're on the road and it's like, hey, yo, what's up, man? Oh, it's so good to talk to you. I haven't seen you in forever. Oh, we should get together. It's like, damn well I'm in your town tonight at a show. Oh, are you? Oh,
you get that like relentless, the what's the hookup guy, that guy who, I only hear from you when I'm here.
Yeah, I can't, that's always been my thing with this world that, I try to support as much as possible with this show and interviewing local bands and things like that. I always get the offer. It's like, hey man, like we're going to be in town. You should come out. And I'm like, if I can always come out, I said, I'm paying. I don't care because I don't want to be that guy that, it's like, oh, well, we're asking you. It's like, still, I never want to be that guy.
Like in our industry, like for anybody, and I'm sure anybody you ask would say the same thing. Like the worst shows are like the big cities, like LA, New York, Nashville, because they're all industry. And the second, or maybe even, first worst would be your hometown show, because as great as it is to have your family out and see what you do for a living and this and that, sometimes they forget you got a job to do. You're trying to take care of the artist, or, even like if it's the artist, you're trying to, perform and do what you do for all these people and what you've worked so hard at over the years. So yeah, it's hometown shows can be interesting. I had one in, it was London, Ontario, 2 years ago. And it was on my birthday. Oh, wow.
So that's like big deal hometown show, especially.
An hour from my house on my birthday was Shinedown. They played Rock the Park. Oh, wow. So let's just say it wasn't a Rock the Park show. It was my birthday party for the night. But yeah, like just that day was just, it was stressful, As great as it was having my kids and, my better half, Beth, and everybody come to the show and my folks. It was like nonstop from the minute I got on site until I loaded out and got to head home for the night.
It's like, guys, I gotta make sure everything's taken care of, because it's not like, a lot of people may not quite understand what exactly it is that I use the term tech, but in reality, I mean, there's tons of stuff that you do. So even maybe just quick as an example, what kinds of things is it that you do on a daily basis, like on a normal day for you when you're on the road?
Well, like Shinedown's been my gig on and off since 2007. I've been with them for years. And the last 5.5 years I've been back with them. My gig's mainly taking care of Eric Bass, who is bass player, acoustics, piano, attention. He, produced, mixed, did all that stuff. He's just a genius. It's
all
insane.
Around very talented cat.
Yeah, the amount of stuff that man does. He's very much one of the talented, one of the most talented individuals I know out there.
And that's a statement.
But, yeah. No, seriously, like, yeah, he's a great dude to work with. And for me, like a day on the road, I would, backline's always the first or last to load in and the first to load out. That's one of the nice things about backline. However, I feel like it's more of a high pressure job because you're dealing with the artist directly.
For sure,
and,
yeah.
If the artist is not feeling it, you're not going to feel it. If he has if he's got something going on, you're going to hear it, right? So it's definitely, especially during the show, you're in the hot seat. Yeah. But so a normal day, load in anywhere from, 10 to 11 type thing. Get my rig set up, get all my cabs on place, I'll fire up the rig, make sure everything's working, check all the effects, check all the wirelesses, do all that stuff. Then we'll do some type of line check, usually around 1:30. We'll get the band up around 3 for a song or two. If there's anything Eric wants to address, usually that's when he brings it up. And then from there, I'll spend the afternoon going through all the instruments. With Eric, I had 9 basses on the road, I think, and 2 acoustics. Then like he had a couple on the bus that he would record with. Mm-hmm. So, the main instruments I would go through every day. I probably restring about 3 or 4 instruments a day, basses. I would restring the acoustic once a week type thing. And then showtime, pretty much an hour before the show is when I start to get into my game mode. I don't know what you want to call it, but
wingman mode or whatever.
Yeah. That's when I start going through the instruments, tuning them up one more time, giving them a quick, stretch, firing up all the amps, turning everything on so those tubes heat up, and any other little things like some dudes, you take care of their on stage needs like beverages and stuff, get all that stuff ready, and then usually we'll get the stage about 30 minutes before our artist performs. We'll do a line check, put the pedal boards in place, put all that stuff in place, tape everything down, check the keyboards, stuff like that. And then a show can go anywhere from an hour and a half to, man, we've had some 3-hour shows when we do the evening with. So
yeah,
with him, we do a bass change every song. It's not an aesthetic thing, it's a tuning thing. We've got 5 different tunings.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, so I'm constantly bass. A piano comes out on a riser. His piano, I've got a brain in my world. I can change the sounds. So when he steps up to it for the song, it's the right sound for that song, and he doesn't have to think I got to change this. I got to
change the setting, and yeah.
He doesn't do that stuff. He just plays and sings his butt off and jumps around and spins and twirls, and I'm doing all the things behind. Like, there's a lot of things during the show, like when you see him playing bass and you see him step up to an acoustic and play the acoustic. Well, if you leave the bass on, it's just going to feed back.
Yeah,
I'm back there.
sure.
I'm muting the rig completely so it doesn't feed back. So doing things like that as well. Same with when he goes up to a keyboard. If he goes up and plays, I'll mute the rig. And yeah, just show comes down. We'll get done the show. Takes about 45 minutes to an hour to pack everything up and get it into the trucks, and then it's shower and relax for a bit till the next day. And like I said, we do that 5 days a week. So we'll usually do like 3 on, take a day off, 1 on, maybe 2 on, take a day off, and just keeps going like that. We'll head out for about 6 to 8 weeks.
Well, it's definitely it's a heavy day, I'm sure. Like, I think some people think, like I said, you're just tuning guitars and handing it to him. It's like, no, as someone who spent a lot of time watching rig rundowns and things of that nature, like, which is actually where I first discovered you, which is kind of a funny story I want to tell for sure. But like, when you're in the back during the show, are you also like running any effects for him? Or you mentioned he has a pedal board out front, so is he kind of doing all his own stuff, or?
Well, for him and his pedal board, how it works with Eric, he has a wah because he likes the control of the wah. And when he's playing, he can oscillate the tone or whatever he wants to do with it. He also, on his pedal board, he has a Digitech. It's the blue whammy pedal.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's the bass version, which he turns that on and off for different parts. When he uses the octave like in jams and like interludes, stuff in between songs. There's 1 or 2 songs he uses it on, and the only other thing he has in front of him is what I call is the gas pedal. It's how we run his rig is it's basically a 2 amp system. The amp 1 setup would be an Ampeg SVT7 Pro. He doesn't like to affect his clean tone. Yeah, it'll affect with the wah or the octave, but like he doesn't like to put like a distortion pedal or anything like that on his clean bass, because he feels like when you put a distortion pedal on, it just sucks all that low end out.
Yeah, he wants to keep that signal as clean as possible, basically.
He wants to, he's the bass player, so he wants to keep that clean. So the gas pedal actually turns on a mojo tone deacon in my world. And, all the heavy songs, all the, growly heavy parts, he's actually turning on a whole guitar rig, which is has an ISO cabinet, and it's mic'd up backstage in my world.
Okay.
So if you've ever seen photos of my Shinedown office, there's usually 2 racks next to my work box. The main rack is like his wireless, his keyboard units, which are Mojo Tone, or they're Yamaha motifs, and then his clean amps, as well a radio selector, a JX 44 for a selector, and then the amp. The rack next to it is the Mojo Tones, which is his dirty.
Oh, okay.
So
That's cool because I've seen a lot of like there's a lot of guys who are using that kind of a 2 amp setup, one with an ISO cab, one on stage. As a tech, do you have a preference as far as what you like for sound? I'm just curious. I'm a huge like nerd with things like this, and I know a lot of people who listen to my show are. Do you kind of have a preference between having the cab on stage or ISO? Like some people say it's a different tone, it's a different feel.
I personally love it when it's in my area because it's all up my butt and I feel it the whole show. You know, like for instance, with Shinedown, his clean tone, I'll run 2 810s. Okay. I have an 810 on its side on a wheel board that I park behind him, and it's hidden in the set. You can't see it. So I also have an 810 in my world, and I'll point that towards me. And the reason why it's in my world is because we're miking it up. And my thoughts were, I'm not going to crawl under that damn set with pyro and this and that. Like, something's going to go wrong and a mic's going to fall and I'm going to have to run out there and, you know, fix it, catch my butt on fire or something like So
burn your beard off, you know, you don't want to deal with that.
No, I don't want to burn my beard, you know. So, I basically put a cab in our world, and that's what I'll use to monitor and, you know, as well, mic up. So I see the mic the whole show. If anything goes wrong, I'm there to,
you can see it,
you know, fix it. Yeah. I dig the cabs in my world. It's easier as a tech if I don't have to put a bunch of shit on stage.
Of course, yeah.
You know, a lot of these guys are going digital and not even using cabs. So, you know, it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's what works best for the, what tool works best for that application or the artist you're working for. Personally, guitar wise, amp wise, I've been really digging the Rev stuff. That's a company that I've been in love with for the last couple of years. They make the G20. I got actually one sitting right behind me.
I was just about to say, I think that's one sitting behind you, isn't it?
Yeah. Great products. And then bass wise, I mean, I love my Ampeg, man. You can't go wrong. Like it's been a staple for years on stage, right?
Oh, for sure. Well, that's awesome. And just because you mentioned it, talking about kind of getting the focus on you a little bit here, what have you got behind you in your world there? I see lots of cool toys back there. So I'm curious, for those of you who are listening audio wise, be sure to check out the video version of this episode here.
Well, for sure, this is Prestige Eric Bass bass. This is a gloss red. This was version 3. Which turned into the final version, except for the neck is different on this one than the production model. Okay. Eric was nice enough to gift this one to me when the basses were done. There's this thing. It's beautiful. Nice big chunk of wood, man. I'm not gonna lie, go wrong with this.
Yeah, those basses of his are very, very nice.
They are. I also got a Todd Kearns Prestige back here. If you don't know who Todd is the bass player for Slash and the Conspirators. He's also a Prestige artist. This is sort of T Birdish, says damn it on the 12th fret. Another, nice chunk of wood. Prestige is just got into making basses the last couple years, and that is one of the companies I work with. All my basses I use SIT strings. I've used SIT strings for 22 years. I've worked artist relations for them for 14. It's a string that if I start with a new band and they don't have anything that they're already set up with, it's a string that I always try to promote and share. A couple more. One of their nice, beautiful hollow bodies.
Oh my goodness, that is gorgeous.
And then I got my custom acoustic back here. I got this made up about 1.5 years ago.
Oh, wow. HooGie on the inlay. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah. Capos, Kaiser Capos, they always make some great products. This was one I ended up bringing home, a Shinedown capo.
Oh, nice. With the attention. Yeah,
yellow.
That's awesome.
But, this is pretty much some of the toys that I have around me. Cables. I love Bestronic cables. They make amazing cables. We can custom make anything. Rev, they've got those new pedals too. They've got the G2, 3, and 4 pedals that they've had out for the last year and a bit. An accessory that I use on them all, barefoot buttons. I don't know if I have one down here, but barefoot buttons. It goes on top of the pedal. It gives you a wider surface to step on them. So definitely a fan of the barefoot buttons. But yeah, some of the things around me and hiding behind me.
There's one thing I wanted to kind of just quickly touch on because I can't find it. It's a product I use, and I hadn't seen a lot of people really using it, but you were someone that if I'm correct on this, I saw that you at least were using it, which was Big Ben's nut sauce. Are you still rocking that? Or
I'm still using the nut sauce. I still have that upstairs. Don't have anything down here, but yeah, Big Ben's nut sauce is another great product I use on all my artists' nuts. Little bit on the bridge, the saddle, any part where the string contacts the guitar. A little bit of nut sauce goes a long way. Yeah,
just put some nut sauce on your bridge and your nut, and you're good to go. It's
yeah,
it's funny because anytime, excuse me, I had the first time I got to check out the Big Ben's nut sauce was actually at a store I used to work at, and the manager at the time he had this big box of this thing, and I looked at it and it just said Big Ben's nut sauce, and I thought that was the funniest thing ever. And he's like, listen. He says, yes, it's kind of a fun play on words and like it's kind of funny, but like, have you ever tried it? And I said, no. And as someone who, like, I used heavy gauge strings and tuned down and everything, he's like, dude, you got to try this stuff out. And it was a game changer. I use it to this day. So I wanted to bring that up because they're a product that I use literally all the time, just even for bedroom playing,
I started using Big Ben's around 2004. And that's when I met the owner, Jeff. So yeah, that's how long I've been utilizing the product. And every time I restring a guitar, if it's somebody who brings a guitar to my house, which I'm currently doing setups, if anybody's in Chatham, Kent or Ontario,
needs a setup, hit him up.
Needs a setup, hit me up. I'll do whatever. Every instrument I touch, I'll put a little bit of Big Ben's on the guitar.
That's awesome. It's a game changer for sure. And then also I know that as far as guitar picks. What are you rocking?
Guitar picks. Everything I deal with is in-tune guitar picks. They make amazing custom guitar picks. So if you're in the market for picks, that's another thing you can message me about. We can, definitely help you achieve that goal of getting your first custom guitar pick. So
that's awesome. And wbgear.com, I believe, is the site too, correct?
That is the correct site. Just mention that you heard me on this show. There's a spot. Where'd you hear about it? And then from there, we could work on setting you up an account, and you can, order from there with the brands we work with.
For sure. And there's, obviously you've mentioned, like, obviously Prestige guitars, SIT strings, Bestronix was the cable, I believe.
Yeah, was the cable.
Yeah, in-tune picks. Is there any other companies? I might need to look into some of those Bestronix cables for myself, actually. But what other companies are you working with as far as with WB Gear?
We also do Rockstock, which they make a pedal called the Bright Switch, which is a cool little pedal for pedal boards. It's actually a light, and it comes with 2 USB ports. Okay. So I utilize mine for a light, and I utilize the other port for either charging like my Peterson tuner or, charging my cell phone, stuff like that. That's
super cool. It almost seems like a no-brainer to have in a setup, but see if you got one.
I got one right here.
Oh, now that is cool. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that would sit on your pedal board, and if you want the light off, you could just step on it. But
if you need to see if you're having an issue for my people that are, don't have someone like HooGie playing a local show.
I'll keep it low right next to the set list so he can see the set list in the dark.
Okay.
And then I've got a second light on the pedal board. This one, I got a light plugged into it right up here, and I'll use this one for my notes when I'm doing my my Instagram lives and stuff with artists, so I can see, so that can, so that can light up my questions, and I'll keep the questions sort of right in front of me.
That is I'm mind blown because I've seen those around, but I didn't really know what it was. And that seems like such a no brainer to have on any level of musician.
I personally think every pedal board should have one. So on top of that, we've already Mental Case, they make all my custom cases, any case that you see me working out of on tour, at home. I've got a couple, fly kit boxes upstairs. I got the big A rig, which is, in Nashville with Shinedown stuff. And then I got a B rig, which is sitting in the UK with Shinedown stuff. I also, we touched on, big bands. We touched on Bestronics. Guitar Gifts for You is another cool company. They basically embroider straps. So,
okay.
You want the show's name on a strap, whatever.
Nice Hodder Show logo on there. It'd be cool,
Yeah, Rev amplification, barefoot buttons, which is another cool little product. And Neat Audio. Neat Audio is a good buddy of mine. His name's TJ. He makes playback rigs. He's made playback rigs for 21 Pilots. He's made playback rigs for Post Malone, to mention a few guys. But
a couple big hitters there in the industry for sure.
Yeah, he can help you design, a playback rig or in-ear rack or something like that when it comes to that world. So
that is awesome. And, again, guys, if you're someone listening to this right now who maybe needs some gear, obviously, shows aren't happening right now. Obviously, there's no touring happening, but it won't be like this forever. If at some point you need something, I think there's a couple bands that I've had on the show that either have used you in the past or have contacted you. But if you're someone who maybe needs a hookup with some stuff or needs some help finding what you need, WBgear.com, folks.
With the social distancing in effect, I think guitar picks are the perfect thing to get your message across because you can throw them.
Yes. It's always...
you could sit from your porch and there goes the mailman, throw a pick at him.
So what I need like a Hodder Show logo and then like a bunch of links on the back and just start throwing it at people.
Seriously. You stop somewhere to go take a pee in a bathroom I don't know if you can do that anymore, but leave a pic on the, somewhere in there, it's a very inexpensive way to advertise yourself. So it doesn't just have to be for the stage.
Exactly.
I got pics with my kids, birthday on it. And I've got different pics like that. So pic fanatics will come out of the woodworks, collectors and start messaging. Oh, I need that pic.
Here's a beautiful example, folks. Now, this is not just a basic idea of what we're talking about. I don't know if it's going to zoom in on that. Is it going to break any of that? Probably not. But I've got my as an example. Mean Beard, of course. You guys were talking about Mean Beard 100 times. They have these pics they give out every single time. There's Barry's face right there.
You could go as like here's an in-tune pic.
Yes,
it's full color.
That is cool.
So.
And something on the back. Oh, that's awesome. And you could have your business on that. There's pics I have here from podcasters like I know that give them out, and
my daughter, her birthday.
Oh, nice.
And when she was born, I made pics to give out. But every pack of signature strings you purchase from SIT, comes with
that's cool.
The SIT pic. But that's the Shinedown one, so that comes out of the Eric Shinedown pack.
Then if you get the, Wayne's signature pack, I'm assuming that'll come.
It comes with a Wayne one, yeah. My family, we got a family pick we make every year.
Oh, that's awesome.
This was we'll do one for the year, and then we'll do like a holiday Christmas one, so with everybody's names on it. And kids like it; they give it to their friends, stuff like that. I don't know. It's a cool little thing.
Mm-hmm. And business cards are great, but it's nice to be different. So if you're someone who, again, like he said, even if you're not in the industry, so to speak, you're looking for a cool way to advertise, just throw them at your mailman. If you're someone who's doing deliveries right now, which a lot of people are, just leave it in the bag. It's fine,
Yeah, you're trying to get out there, push your band. What better way? You're on your route. Drop a few pics off.
You're driving down the road, just start throwing handfuls. It's fine.
Yeah. Delivering pizzas.
Leave it on
Uber,
the pizza box.
Whatever.
It's fine,
Yeah, just don't open up the pizza and put it in.
Yeah, maybe avoid doing that. That probably wouldn't be the best look. But I mean, it would work, I guess.
You could even get a guitar pick shaped like a pizza with the pizza on the one side. If you're really out there and thinking about it, pizza shops. Think about that.
Yes.
Call me.
Give WB Gear, folks. WBgear.com, folks. Hit them up. Let them know.
Let them know.
Up. That's awesome. Well, before I move on here, because there's obviously so much, I could probably talk to you for 3 hours about all the stuff I want to ask you about, but as we're kind of getting ready to move into some different stuff here, since we've been plugging all these awesome companies that you work with and that, I wanted to take a second, of course, to discuss quickly how actually I kind of got hooked up with you, which was you guys saw the Mean Beard pic there, and you're seeing my hat, which my webcam is mirrored. I know that you are an avid user to take care of that fantastic beard that you have grown back out.
It's coming back, yes. About a month and a bit into this whole quarantine, it may have got the best of me.
Yeah.
And I woke up one morning, and after about almost 2 years, I said to myself I was going to shave it at the end of the Attention record cycle, and start it from there. I took it off. I shaved it off one morning, and then I came downstairs to say hello to my kids, not realizing that 2 of my children have never seen me without a beard.
Oh.
My daughter, who is 18 months, would not come close to me, and my son, Lennon, the first words out of his mouth, he's 3, looks at me, 3.5, well, he's 4 now, he turned 4 last week, he was 3, looks at me and goes, "You look ridiculous." She doesn't even skip a beat, just like,
kids are ruthless. They don't care. They'll tell you
"What
how it
did you
is.
do? You look ridiculous."
Who are you? What have you done?
And they would not even let me, my daughter, it took her a couple days. She wouldn't even let me put her to bed. Seriously. So I sat down with my son day 2, and he's
giving you the look.
Doing that. Yeah. I go, "Hey, I got a deal for you. You can help me grow it back. When I'm cuddling you at night and we're getting ready for bed, just massage it a little bit." So over the course of a few weeks, he would "Daddy, it's like a baby beard now. It's coming in." Week or 2 later, "Daddy, it's like a teenage beard now."
Oh, man.
Yeah. So now, I guess that was, I don't know, 7 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. Now it's to a point where they've accepted it and told me not to do it again.
Well, I know that when it happened, we were kind of starting to look into maybe trying to do this just a little after this, that you had shaved it, and I saw that you shaved it, and I was like, oh, I totally understand. As someone who keeps my beard short, I get it. I get it.
My biggest thing was, if I shave it, maybe I can sneak out of the house and they won't know it's me. No, they
Who's
just
this baby
me
face guy? Where's Dad?
Right. You in the right house?
Who are you?
Yeah. So no, they just called me out and
Don't do that ever again. Yeah.
Don't do that ever again. What were you thinking?
Who are you?
Yeah.
Well, I know that I think, if I'm not mistaken, you have a funny story about Mr. Joe Loving, who is the managing partner of Mean Beard, that contacted you when you shaved your beard off.
Well, yeah, that was the story I was telling him.
My son
sorry.
Called, okay.
Yeah, calling me ridiculous, and then Joe's like, "Brother," and I'm like, "Man, it'll come back. Don't worry. I already got called out by a 3-year-old."
That is awesome. That's fantastic. That just warms my heart. That's awesome. But yeah, guys,
he even had a little mishap. Joe, there,
yes, he did.
He got too close to the weed whacker, or what?
So I'm going to just tell the story. I've been meaning to have him on to tell the story, but I'll just tell it here now for the sake of it. But so Joe Loving, for those of you who do not know, again, managing partner of Mean Beard, a wonderful human being. We love Joe here on the Hodder Show. He's a good friend of mine. His beard was about down to here.
Oh, dude, I'd stand up, but I'm not wearing pants. It was long.
Same here. Yeah, I'll also.
We're both not wearing
same
pants.
wavelengths.
That's why we're not.
Yes, it was down to my gut, long beard, and so I didn't hear from Joe for a couple days, and then he randomly texts me, and he's like, "It's not the beard, it's the attitude." And I was like, "Okay, that's kind of random, but all right." And I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing. Everything's cool." I'm like, "Okay." And a day or so later, he video calls me, and he's like, and he's holding the phone super close, and I'm like, "That's not like him. What's going on?" And he looked normal, and he's like, "Hey, so don't tell anyone yet." I'm like, "Okay." And he holds the phone back, and half his beard's gone, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" And basically, for beard safety tips here, folks, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing the story. I'm sure he won't, but basically, he had his beard. He was trying to use a drain snake, and his beard got caught in the drain snake, and it literally tore out a good chunk of the middle section of his beard. It was really bad. It could have been so much worse. Like, he could have been really seriously hurt. So, I mean, we're thankful for that, obviously. And I mean, it'll grow back.
Yeah.
He has a magnificent beard. It's actually growing back like thicker, which is interesting.
Well, that's one thing I've noticed since I've shaved it. I don't remember it being this thick when it came in the last time. Like, it's definitely healthier. And I'm sure because of this time, I'm using the Mean product
Of course.
to get it going. So, you know, in the beginning last time, I didn't have that stuff. And then that's when, you know, Barry Stock, an amazing friend of mine, Green Tire, hit me up and he was like, hey, try some of this. And that's when I started using it and got it to where it was. And here we are.
It will definitely help as far as when it's growing. Start using the oils and that. It definitely helps out big time.
Yeah.
It's meanbeardco.com, folks. Use my code MB15TJH, all uppercase. Get yourself
Check
some
'em
Mean
out.
Beard. We've got a fantastic King's Throne sale going on right now for Father's Day. So get on it, folks. But I wanted to kind of go back for a minute here because we've talked a lot about current and you know, this has been a really fun chat so far. So I thank you for that.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been super fun. And, you know, we got still a lot more ground to cover. But with you, how did kind of this whole foray into music start? What was kind of some of the first music that you heard? How did the ball start rolling on that?
Man, honestly, it was hanging out with all the wrong people, you know? When I was 14-ish, 15, I started going to shows in Vancouver. Originally from, you know, Tilbury, Ontario, Chatham, Ontario. Tilbury's small, like 6,000 people. And
Very small town,
I'm living in Chatham next to there. My mom moved out west when I was younger, and I followed her when I was 14 or so. And I got out there, and I started hanging out with, like I said, the wrong people. It was a band called Jar. They later changed their name to Flybanger. I was good friends with the singer, Garth Allen, and became good friends with the guitar player. And to a point where when I was like 17, 18, I was going to so many shows. He was like, hey, you want to help me with my gear? And I'm like, sure. So I just kept doing it, right? And it was great. It was a great way as somebody who's underage to get into a bar.
Yes. Okay, I'm with the band, bro.
I'm with the band, bro.
It's all good.
Pushing this guitar cab. All good. You got ID? Yep. Be right back.
Hang on. I gotta get this in here, bro, real quick. Hang on. It's really important.
Hold on, real quick. Guy needs this right now. So yeah, it worked out great. From there, I kept meeting different bands, man. I met another band at their management company called Noise Therapy, who ended up taking me on the road in like 98, 99, I think it was. At what point I got in with network management. Network was great because it was the Gob guys who got me in that foot, which opened doors with Treble Charger and Sum 41, who the singer of Treble Charger managed them back in the day. So that's how I got in with those guys. I think it was 2003. I started with Sam Roberts, and that was like Sam's big record in Canada. You know, that was like We Were Born in a Flay, and that was when he was beating Nickelback out at the Junos for stuff.
Yes.
Like yeah,
deal at the time.
we did, dude. It was we did the Grey Cup halftime show. If you don't know what that is, that's like the Super Bowl of the Canadian Football League. We did that one year with Bryan Adams. That was really cool. Like, yeah. And then from there, it was in 2005, I started touring with Theory of a Dead Man, Gasoline record.
Which was their really big breakout record. I mean, as someone who was a teenager when that came out, I can remember when that record blew up.
It was great, and it made me a lot of great contacts. It introduced me to a gentleman by the name of Brent Fitz, who was the drummer of that band, who, you know, years down the road, now he's with Slash. Amongst so many other things that he does, he really sort of took me under his wing and was like, "This is what you need to do. This is the networking you need to do. This is the, you know, you're going to come to NAMM with me, and if you don't know what NAMM is, that's basically where all of the new gear comes out every year, and you know, every musician and everybody goes wild." So From there, I went to NAMM, and I already had a relationship with some companies. Started, WB Gear that year, thanks to Fitz. You also, what happened later that year is every band that Theory of a Deadman opened for in the U.S., I ended up going on to work with. So 2006 was really where my career, went from just strictly Canadian bands to sort of in overdrive. And I went out with Stain, I went out with Breaking Benjamin and Shinedown, and a bunch of other bands that ended up falling into place. Lamb of God needed somebody, and their manager at the time, Larry Mazer, managed Breaking Ben. They were on a break, and it just worked out where he moved me over to them because he knew I'd get the job done. And at 22 plus years later, I built a career doing things, until the bands realize I don't know what I'm doing, and then I go to the next group. So, yeah.
Well, that's like your famous quote. I think I can remember one of the times I think I was having a bit of a back and forth with you and Joe or something. And, as someone who used to do a tiny bit of guitar teching, I use that term very loosely. I do too. But I remember saying to me, you're a big deal because you're, someone who has been doing this for as long as you have, and you're in that world, and you just said, I just do it until they realize I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well, it's funny because I have to ask a couple things just as a fan. You mentioned working with obviously some huge bands that are I worship at their feet, obviously like Breaking Benjamin and that. But as a humongous worshiper of Mike Mustock from Stained, I have to ask, how was it working with him with his different guitar tuning? Because if you guys aren't familiar, he uses some crazy guitar tuning.
He if you look at the whole Stained catalog and take all of their songs, 25 tunings. Yeah.
And it's not it's not like we're talking he uses, some people hear that and be like, oh, well, he uses open G, or he uses double drop D. No. He's using baritone, it's, yeah. Yeah.
It's and he's writing a song, and he's like, what happens if I change? Yeah. Hey, that sounds good. And then he looks, oh, that's the tuning of that, and that's now what you're doing live.
See For You by Stained, if you want to know some different tunings that he uses.
Seriously. But you know what? I got to tell you, that was a gig. I remember with Theory of a Deadman, we went out with them and sitting side stage, and it was amazing because, I was with them, and Stain had a couple of the coolest backline guys out there. Later, who became friends of mine, Swampy, who was guitar tech for Mike at the time, legend. He worked with all of these bands from Seven Dust and Mike and whatnot. Aaron had Grady Champion at the time, and if you don't know who Grady is, he was Dimes Tech.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Throughout the Pantera days, and the bass tech Pete Rickey, all who became really cool later on, and I ended up working with. And how the Stain thing came to play was Swampy had to dip out for a minute, and he knew that I was capable of taking care of multiple guitar players with a lot of instruments, because Theory of a Deadman, I was doing all three guys, and we had 6 tunings.
Another band that has a few tunings as well. Yeah.
That was the days before Guitar Vaults on the road too. So everything in single cases, he was about that, and was wanted to bring me in to fill in for him. And I remember going in and doing a couple of weeks of work with them, and it was intimidating as a kid. This is probably the biggest band I've worked with to date. And they're headlining these shows, or I think at the time they were out with Nickelback. They were direct support.
What year did you say that was?
I want to say it was 07.
Yeah, at that point they were. I think it was Nickelback.
Right. I want to say it was Daughtry.
Yes,
it was Daughtry Stain Nickelback tour. And I went and did
they had just released
3 weeks.
I think they had just released that. They had a compilation album that had all
5.
the singles on it. And, and 5, which is actually my favorite Stain record. So, but
I went and did that, and obviously he was happy because he gave me a call back, and I got to do it again.
That's awesome.
And And over the years, Mike has called me multiple times, and he's been just a sweetheart of a dude to know. Like, he's been so amazing. Saint Asonia was pretty cool because he called me in to do the Saint Asonia stuff too, which was really cool because he called me in before the world knew about it, which I thought was like,
that's cool. That's when you know you're a big deal.
yeah. He gave me a call and he's like, hey, I've got this thing I'm doing. Our first show is going to be Rock on the Range. You were just my last deck because this was what, 2013?
Yeah, I think it was 13 when they came out, somewhere in that ballpark.
Was it? No, maybe later. It was, I don't know, whatever. So it was their first show, and they gave me a call, and I went and did it, and it was pretty cool because we did like a week and a half of rehearsals because, I mean, they never played as a band. They didn't know the songs, so it was a surreal and cool experience to sit in the room with Adam.
That's cool.
And Mike, getting the tech for them, and also at the time Corey Lowry, which is another
who was a
monster
musician, in
himself, and Rich Beto from Finger 11, who I had the pleasure of working with Finger 11 in 2009. So I've had relationships with all these guys except for Corey, but it was pretty cool getting to be brought in on that and sort of do what they did for the first show and introduce it to the world. It's funny, I'll still get, like, if you watch the Rock on the Range, there's like videos, I guess. Mm-hmm. And a buddy of mine was watching it the other day with his kid, and I forget the song, but Adam goes out in the crowd, and I'm walking with him in the crowd, and my buddy calls me up and goes, hey, you did this show with blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, my daughter goes, look, that's Dylan and Lennon's daddy. And I looked up, and there you are.
That is awesome.
So, yeah, it was pretty cool getting to do that. And it just a Mushak, just a sweetheart of a man. Nothing bad to say about that dude. He's been amazing.
Yeah, he seems like an awesome guy. I mean, I had his signature guitar for a while. Like, I mean, I worship at the feet of of him for sure. But speaking of seeing people on in the crowds and videos and that, it's funny because the first time I ever saw you anywhere was actually a Premier Guitar rig rundown for Lamb of God. And it's funny because at the time I was really late to the Lamb of God party. I just started getting into them, and it was right around that time. So I was looking up the rig rundown, and at the time I think you were doing Willie, and then you were doing
Willie and John.
Yes, John. That's it. Sorry,
John
blank on him. Yeah.
I teched for Willie and John from 2009, I think September, until the summer of 2014. So 5 years I was in their corner.
And how was working with Lamb of God? I mean, obviously you've got two,
It was amazing. Like that band took me around the world. I got to see 59 countries. Wow. Like as a kid from Chatham, Kent, Tilbury, Ontario, like, hey, you're going to go to Israel and do shows. You're going to go to all over Asia. You're going to go yeah, right. Come on. There's 2 traffic lights in my town.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for those who don't know, Chatham Kent is, very not small, but it's pretty small.
It's smaller, 100, if you take the whole county, like Chatham, I think it's only like 150,000 people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's small. Pretty small.
Yeah.
But dude, they took me around the world countless times. I lived through a murder trial with them.
I was just about to ask that. You would have been there for that. I was
there for both incidences, when it happened and when he got arrested and all of that, so it's that's a part of my my history, my past. Like, yeah, definitely I survived that, so we're going to survive COVID now.
Absolutely. And I mean, that was a huge thing when it happened. I mean, just as a fan, like, I can only imagine what it was like in the Lamb of God camp.
I remember when it happened, I messaged home and I called home and like, blah, blah, blah. And I told my wife, she's like, you're going to be okay. And then like a day later, she's like, calling me up like, okay, people are calling me now. And we were still over there because they kept us over there for those of you who don't know. 2010, there was an incident on a show, resulted in a fan passing away. 2012, we go back to Czech Republic, is where this incident happened. And when we fly into the Czech Republic, we are greeted by about 15 dudes in full-on SWAT gear, ski masks, machine guns, and they shove us in a room the size of this closet I'm in and line us up and take our passports and find out who Randy was. They detained him, took him away, and then it was like, wow, that was the start of an 8-month roller coaster. And it all worked out for the best. Randy is a man. He stood up. He went to trial. It was something he never did. Mm-hmm. It was, luckily, the end result is what it is. And, he was exonerated of all charges. So, but yeah, it was a surreal and real moment in life there for a while.
Yeah, definitely something that's very heavy. I mean, I've read his book on that, and I was really paying close attention to that. And as someone who is a huge fan of the metal community, luckily, things ended the way they should have for him in that. Obviously, yeah. Horribly tragic situation. But like you said, Randy was ready to do whatever needed to be done, and he wasn't disrespectful to the family or anything. And it was he went in and happened.
Yeah, it was, man. And he went in and he was a man, and he was very, yeah, he definitely, I just, the words are speechless, the fact that just to think, and it just feels like yesterday, a lot of those moments too.
Definitely, for sure. As far as, kind of getting back into something else here, what's, when you're at home and you're just sitting in your closet, obviously, like, I know, like, while you're at home, you're still doing some, looking after guitars for people and things like that, I'm sure, in the area. But what else do you do in a normal situation? Of course, right now we're not in normal territory, but what do you kind of do when you're off and you're just kind of
when I'm off, it's all about friends, family, kids, all of that stuff, hanging out with my better half, Beth. And, I got to, throw a huge shout out to her, because she's amazing. And when I'm gone, I don't know how she does it with all these kids, because when I'm here, it's like, and here I am. Yeah, here I am interrupting their regular scheduled program for a year, it sounds like. But it's it's hectic in the household, between that and, trying to juggle the creative things like this and, and figuring out the new moves of the future, until things get back to normal.
Definitely. When you're on the road, speaking of family and that, do you have like kind of a set routine where you like call home, or is it just kind of whenever you have time?
I'll wait till they start their day and give them a call, or depending on what part of the country is, vice versa, they'll wait till I'm up, because, time changes and such. But yeah, multiple times we'll talk throughout the day. And man, thank God for like things like FaceTime and Skype, because it wasn't like that even 10 years ago. I remember when Skype first came out, you had to buy these phones, and I probably still got mine somewhere in a box, but you would put money on this phone, and we would walk around. I remember it was me, Barry Kirch, and Eric Bass of Shinedown when we first got these. We'd walk around Europe, and we'd like, oh, the phone would go off. That means you got internet. So it locked into somebody's internet. We'd all stand there for like 5 minutes and call our home. And, hey, what's going on? Yeah, I'm in Paris. I found internet. So, yeah, to think of like now it's like there's 100 different things to get online, and you can see each other from, Zoom to Skype to Facebook to Instagram to like, it's just nonstop. So definitely a different world. I remember stories of when I started. I remember, some of the older road guys going, I used to travel around with a real phone in my bag. And when I would get to a venue, I would walk around and plug that phone into wherever I found a phone jack.
Oh, wow.
And then we would call it the hotline. And that's the only way we would get a hold of home, So that was the early 80s.
I couldn't even imagine walking around with a phone
35 years ago, oh, there's hey guys, I found one. Be done in 20 minutes. Hey, Mom.
Then you take your turns and yeah.
Like prison, right?
Yeah.
Time's up. Come on.
Time's up. Come on, man. It's been 20 minutes. Let's go. Come on. Like, I got to call my wife. Come on.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
The other thing too, like imagine like the other world, like at home, like when's he going to give me a call?
Exactly. That's the one thing that, like you mentioned, with your family and your better half, luckily, like they're very, they're able to kind of understand that. But it's got to be tough when you're first getting on the road and you meet someone and, you have kids, and it's like, I can imagine it could be a very heavy thing at times where it's like sometimes you probably just want to be home and you can't be,
missing a birthday, missing a birth, missing a whatever, man. There's events that unfortunately in this industry you sacrifice, man, and one day as they get older they'll understand it, but just keep trucking along. Definitely
that road life, the road crew, a lot of people talk about musicians being on the road and that, and obviously it is just as hard, don't get me wrong, but there's that other side of the family, the road family, so to speak, where it's the exact same thing. You're in the, on the bus as well in that bunk, and you're slugging it out with them just as much. And
dude,
it can be a heavy thing for sure. Well, as we just kind of get ready to wrap it up here, and I mean, I thank you so much for the time. It's been so fun talking with you, and I could probably talk to you for another 3 hours about.
We have to do it again.
Stuff for sure, definitely. But I wanted to ask, just kind of, without mentioning any names, obviously, but do you have kind of any funny stories as far as just like someone you maybe had never worked with before that you started working with, and they had really odd demands, and you have to make sure my Diet Coke is room temperature, and do you have anything like that was kind of funny?
I did have an artist who was like that, who had like Sprite, room temperature water, cough drops need to be opened up, sitting on the wrapper, don't touch the cough drop, certain gums. Like he had like a pharmacy on his cabinet. I had a certain guy that I did work with like that. I did work with another guy who I think my weirdest first moment with a guy, and I don't care, I'll say it, Miles Goodwin from April Wine. If you don't know who April Wine is, they're a classic rock band from the 70s. And
look them up. Fantastic band.
Look them up. Amazing. I did a show with them, and it was, maybe Norma Jean, I don't even remember the place, the bar in London. And they were playing 2 nights, and I was just filling in for a buddy. And it's like, God, I never met Miles. It's rental gear. Oof. He decides not to come do a sound check. I sort of dial in the rig with Brian, his guitar player. 15 minutes before the show, he shows up. Miles, pleasure to meet you. It was November, and the reason why I remember is because it was the last day of November. The reason why I remember is I had a mustache. I was growing it for November.
Okay.
So I go into the dressing room. I've got a mustache. Hey, Miles, pleasure to meet you. I'm the guy checking for you. And he's just like, looks up at me. Here's the set list for tonight. And he had like 5 guitars. He writes down what he wants for every guitar. Hands me it. Okay, whatever. I leave. I get back out to the stage. I'm tuning everything up. We set everything up. We dial in there. We do a line check, blah, blah, blah. Front of house is happy. Monitors is happy. Everybody's happy. If you ever go to an April Wine show, they all walk on stage, and the intro music's playing, and they'll all go to their rigs and they'll start jamming, like checking their tones and stuff and listening in the monitors. And it's like 5 minutes of like cymbals hitting, like the most mess you've ever seen. And Miles waves me over and goes, "Come here. This don't sound like my amp." I go, "Well, it's a rental, sir." Looks at me, turns a knob or two. I go, "Is there anything I can get you?" And he looks at me and goes, "Go away!" And I run off stage. Okay. So I'm following the set list, and we get to the part where it says Fender. And he's playing a Les Paul. He only's got 1 Fender. Tune it up. Song goes to start. I go to hand on the Fender. Goes, "I don't want this. I said SG." I'm like, I just ran back and handed him the SG. I was like, "There you go, boss." So he was a little hectic the first show. I went. I apologized after. Sorry, any confusions or the amp and that. He goes, "I didn't realize it wasn't my amp." Blah blah blah. Well, November was over, and it was 2 shows. So that night I shaved the mustache off. I come back for the second show, and I didn't have a mustache. And the sound guy goes and tells the band, he goes, "Yeah, he was trying out for a porn and he didn't get the gig. So he shaved the mustache off." So that was like pretty funny. I come in, he's like, "Where's your mustache? You didn't get the gig?" And after that, man, he was completely cool. He was great. But yeah, the first, like, this is Miles Goodwin telling me to go away.
I'm sorry to laugh. That just tickled me. Shave the mustache to get the gig, and then that's when he respects you. Obviously, it's like, oh, well, you know, this guy can't be that bad. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But that's funny. Like, just what do you do when you're in a situation like that, and it's just like, go away. Oh, okay. Because, like you said earlier, there's got to be times where even if it's someone you've worked with and known for years, they're having a bad day. Something's not working right. Exactly. Yeah, it's like anything, right?
Yeah. We all have it. We all put our pants on when we're wearing them, you know, one leg at a time.
When wearing them, yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, when you're working with a band and they finish just like an absolutely killer set, like, you know, okay, that was a really good show. The crowd was awesome. Do you have like a sense of pride as kind of the co-pilot, so to speak, or is it just kind of business as usual for you?
There is no better feeling than giving your artist what he wants, to allow him to do what he wants. I can't even, I don't even have words for it. You know, it's just like, you know, magic, if you believe in it. You know, it's just like, wow, you know, we overcame these hurdles today and we just pulled this off. And, you know, there's some pretty darn cool moments that I've got to live in my lifetime, more than, you know, anybody, and I'm very appreciative for that and very blessed to have gotten to travel down this road.
Definitely, for sure. Well, last question I have here for you today. It's kind of a staple here on the show that I always ask, and obviously it's a little different for you, but do you have like one show or a couple shows that you can pinpoint that were just, for one reason or other, were your all-time favorite show? Or flip side of that, do you have one show you can think of that was just like, this was the worst possible show for whatever reason that you can think of?
I've got both.
Okay.
I can do both. Okay. Let's start with the worst. It was, I want to say 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, we went to South America with Shinedown. And it was a festival. Disturbed was headlining it. I forget the name of the festival. We were in Brazil, I think. And that, hands down, was the worst show ever, because the band only ended up doing 3 songs of their 7 songs. The monitor board had an issue. Something didn't load right, or the software wasn't right. So inputs were coming up at different spots. Things weren't in the right area. Gain levels were wrong. I think I spent more time line checking the bass than the band played the show. Like, wow. I couldn't hear, and it was just like, that was a show that the guys came out and did 3 songs, and they ended by throwing their instruments. It wasn't my everything on my end was working, but it just was like, you know, because of whatever we were supplied from the venue, it didn't work, and just, it ended up being a catastrophic failure, unfortunately. But when it comes to the best, for some reason, every time I go back to Download Festival in the UK, that's a you know, anytime you get to do a stage in front, you know, you're working for a band in front of 120,000 people, like, there's no feeling, you know, like it. Like, you go out there and you knock out that hour-long set, and literally, if you ever have an opportunity to go to a festival in Europe or the UK, go. They know how to do it right. Download, Rock and Ring, Rock and Park, Grass Pop, all those things, you know, anything over there, Whackin', any of those shows, they know how to put on a show. I wish more North American promoters would go and, you know, basically take the menu of what they do, and I wish they would do that a little more here. And it's cool too, like, the shows over there, because, like, man, you could be like Shinedown playing with Ice-T, playing with, you know, Judas Priest, Snoop Dogg, and AC/DC, like,
and everyone's just like, what? But it just works.
It works. And then here it's like Disturbed, you know, all those metal bands of the same genre. Like, I don't know, just the diversity, like, you know, Shinedown playing with Avery, whatever. It's just the diversity. It's just really cool to see how it goes down over there, and how much, fans just eat up music over there. So
there's definitely not as much of a, I guess, an elitism in a way, I guess, with certain fans in North America compared to.
And there's less of this.
Yes, the classic. I'm going to record this show so I can watch it later. I've never understood that. I don't get that.
There's less of that for sure.
For sure. Well, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I thank you so very much for the time. We will definitely have to do this again because there is so much ground that, we didn't really cover that I'd love to talk to you about.
My schedule is open for the next few months. You want to schedule?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Pencil you in 3 months?
Yeah, sure.
But thanks for having me.
Definitely. Well, just real quick before we go, obviously, again, wbgear.com. But where else can the good people find you if they want to hit you up for something?
Anything. My handle, HooGie On The Road, is my handle on Twitter, my handle on Instagram. I don't do the book, the Facebook very much, or WB Gear. Your messages will get to me from there as well. But yeah, HooGie On The Road. You can definitely hit me up at any of those locations.
Beautiful. All right, well, Guy, thank you so very much for the time. Again, I appreciate it. I know, life's crazy and hectic right now, but, I appreciate you taking the time. And be sure to keep an eye out for right now, because there is a lot of things going on with HooGie, guys. He's doing Instagram lives and things like that. So keep an eye out for sure. HooGie, I appreciate the time, man. Thank you so very much.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Gang, there you have it. My chat with HooGie On The Road. Hope that you guys enjoyed that chat as much as I did. It was so much fun getting to chat with him. For those of you who know me, that was a big deal. That was a really big deal to get to chat with him, and he's such a nice guy. I can't say enough wonderful things about him. I mean, you guys saw, great family man, loves his family, loves the business, the music industry, and he loves to help out people as well. So if you're listening to this right now and you're an artist maybe that needs a hookup with an endorsement for some gear, or you just need some gear or whatever, hit HooGie up. Again, wbgear.com. The links are down below in the description of this podcast or this video, depending on how you are currently enjoying the Hodder Show. The links will be in the description, so be sure to go and check that out. A big shout again to HooGie, my man. I seriously appreciate the time, and hopefully we'll be able to get HooGie on again sometime in the future, because there is still so much stuff that we didn't really get to talk about. There's only so much stuff you can fit in an hour, and I had so many things I wanted to ask him. Who knows? Maybe next time I have him on, I'll ask you guys if you want some questions or something, that I can ask him. Could be fun, something to think about. But be sure to check him out on social media, because he's doing a lot of Instagram live interviews with some of your favorite artists for Prestige Guitars as well as SIT Strings. So go check that out. I thank you so very much for tuning into the show today, and for still listening or watching right now. It means the world to me, with this show. What I'm trying to really do, this is for me. It's for me to have fun and talk to musicians and other people, and showcase some great music and other things I find interesting, because it's for me. I love doing this, but I also really love to shine a spotlight on artists that maybe you guys haven't heard of. So if this is your first time listening to the show, again, I thank you so much for tuning in. It means the world to me. Be sure to hit that follow button or that subscribe button. Maybe go back and check out some of the past episodes of the show. I have some great interviews with local talent that you need to check out, as far as music, I do these showcase episodes where I will actually play a band's EP or album, and then I'll kind of briefly talk about what I like about it and pick some favorite songs. So it's a lot of fun. That's what we do here on the show, man. It's all about, trying to keep things as positive as we can and happy-go-lucky, things like that. I'm just a small town dude who loves talking and music and things of that nature. So it means the world to me that you took the time to listen to this episode or watch this episode. And I thank you very much. And I, of course, thank my Patreon supporters, patreon.com/The Hodder Show. The link is down below in this video or this podcast. If you want to check it out, it is the best way to help support the show. If I'm able to make a little bit of, a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of cashola, I can then put that back into the show for things like buying a new laptop, which I desperately need, or different audio equipment, the more financially that I can slowly get from the show, I can then put that back into it more, aside from my own personal money, obviously. But you know, it'd be a cool thing to be able to just get a little bit just to put back into the show, and we can keep spotlighting some great artists and unsigned artists from all over the world, as well as people like HooGie on the show. You know, like it's really cool to get to kind of start branching out to different things here on the show. But of course, my two Patreon supporters, I got to give huge shout outs to my boy, Mr. Scotty. He is he's one of my best buddies. You know, I love you, Scotty. I thank you so very much for helping to support the show. You are one of the people helping to keep the show driving forward, and I appreciate that hell out, my man. Thank you so very much. And of course, my boy Will from Rolls Royce. If you guys aren't familiar with Rolls Royce, they are one of the best punk rock bands in the world. Not even just Canada, in the world. Go check them out. Rolls Royce. The spelling of that is R-A-W-L-S, Rolls Royce. Go check them out. They actually released an EP not that long ago that I did cover here on the show a few episodes ago. Larold, it is a great EP. Really fun band. If you like just good old punk rock, you are going to love Rolls Royce. So go check them out. And I thank Scott and Will for helping to support this show every month. For less than a cup of coffee, folks, you can help support the show. That's all it takes. And every dollar helps. This isn't a fundraiser thing. This isn't me just looking to do this show and make money off it. This is me for those people who do decide that they want to maybe do a little extra to help support the show aside from just listening, which really, that's the best way, is just to listen, and I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. But that little extra mile, I can then help make this show even better. And that's the goal. That's the goal, is to keep getting better at this as time goes on, but then also branch out and help make the show better, as well as all the Podbeard Network shows better. That's kind of the end game here for the Hodder Show. But either way, just for you listening or watching right now, you are seriously the best. Audio fist bump, and now video fist bump. Boom. I thank you very much. It means the world to me. I'm very thankful on these outros usually. That's how I get. But we have an awesome interview happening next week that I'm very, very excited about. Who is it? Well, you're going to have to stick around to find out. Be sure to follow the Hodder Show on social media with Facebook and Instagram at The Hodder Show, all one word. You can, of course, check us out on podbeardnetwork.com. The website for that is podbeardnetwork.wixsite.com/The Hodder Show. While you're there, be sure to check out all the other fine podcasts and shows on Podbeard Network. As I am recording this, we're going to have a big week. There's some cool stuff coming. So if you're a fan of gaming, for example, you got to go check it out. Great gaming podcast in there, still loading podcast. My boy Josh does a fantastic job, as well as Mike's and Beers, a show that I do co-host with a couple friends of mine. We have drinks and just have a good time and chat about a bunch of fun stuff, review craft beers, things of that nature. As well, of course, my boys No Geeks Allowed, who always have a lot of fun. Of course, the Hodder Show. And there's may or may not be something from my past that's making a little bit of a resurgence just for one episode. What is it? Keep an eye. As this episode's out, it's out. So go check it out, podbeardnetwork.wixsite.com. Check it out, folks. And be sure, of course, to hit that subscribe button, the follow button. That helps me out so much. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, be sure to drop me a rate as well. That helps out the show a lot. And be sure to hit HooGie up and let him know that you loved him being on the Hodder Show, and that you want him on again and again and again, because that would be a lot of fun. But also, he's got a podcast coming out, so keep an eye on that. I'm rambling, so I'm going to sign off here. Thank you very much again, and I'll catch you next time on the Hodder Show. Take it easy, guys.